Okay, let's talk about a story that many of us think we know inside and out, the rise of Judah. But what if the popular take on it, the one about ambition and shrewd strategy, completely misses the point? Today, we're going to unpack the real story behind what happened with Jacob's sons. So, you've probably heard this before, right? This idea is everywhere. It paints Judah as this master strategist, this political player who saw his older brother Reuben stumble and just swooped in to grab the opportunity. And honestly, this interpretation is now being used by some to justify their own shortcuts, their own manipulations, all in the name of so-called favor. Is that what's actually happening in the text? Or is there something much, much deeper going on? Come on, let's peel back that surface level thinking and really look at what went down. To really get why Judah rose up, we have to start with why Reuben fell. Because that whole narrative of a stolen position just completely falls apart when you take a closer look at the firstborn. Okay, this is absolutely crucial. Reuben's birthright wasn't some prize that was snatched away by a cunning competitor. Nobody out-schemed him. Nobody pushed him off the pedestal. The whole idea of a hostile takeover is just wrong from the start. The problem came from within. The text is super clear about this. Reuben is described as being unstable as water, and because of his own pretty severe moral failures, it says he would not excel. So his fall from grace was a direct result of his own character, not Judah's ambition. All right, so now that we've cleared that up about Reuben, a totally different picture of Judah starts to emerge. If he didn't rise up through clever strategy, then how did it happen? Well, the answer isn't about positioning, it's about transformation. And when you put them side by side like this, wow, the contrast is just stark. Where Reuben was unstable and ultimately disqualified himself, Judah's story is one of profound, deep change. I mean, let's be real. Judah had some major flaws early on, but his journey led him to a place of incredible sacrifice and intercession, where he was willing to stand in the gap for others. This is it. This is the moment everything changes. He's standing in front of this powerful Egyptian ruler, who, of course, is secretly his brother Joseph. And Judah offers his own freedom, his own life, to save his younger brother Benjamin. He literally puts himself on the line to hold his family together. Just think about that for a second. On one hand, you have the world's way, right? Climb over people, play the game, position yourself to get to the top. But then you have Judah's path. What some people misinterpret as a strategic move was actually a moment of pure, selfless sacrifice. He wasn't trying to get ahead. He was willing to be left behind for someone else. That is the heart of intercession. And this is exactly why it's so important we get this story right. Because when we misunderstand it as some tale of clever strategy, we open the door to a really dangerous, toxic mindset. It's one that can look spiritual on the outside, but man, it is deeply dysfunctional. Yeah, this shortcut way of thinking, it creates these environments of quiet, backstabbing competition and just immense pressure. You feel like you have to constantly perform, constantly prove your worth, and it just leads to total spiritual burnout. And in that kind of culture, people become tools. They get used for their gifts, and then when they're not seen as useful anymore, they get replaced. This is a serious warning for all of us. We have to be so careful with any teaching that twists the text to justify our own personal agendas. One that tells you it's okay to manipulate or use sketchy methods as long as you slap a spiritual label like favor on it. I mean, think about David. He was anointed to be king. He had not one, but multiple chances to kill King Saul and take the throne that was already promised to him. But he wouldn't do it. He refused to force his way into that position, even though he knew it was his destiny, because he trusted God's timing more than his own ambition. So, if real promotion doesn't come from our own scheming or our own ambition, then where does it come from? Well, the source material points to a very, very different origin. Just let that sink in for a minute. It's such a powerful truth. If a door is genuinely opened by God, you don't need a crowbar. You don't have to lie, you don't have to scheme, you don't have to manipulate your way in. It will just open. You know, the Bible itself says promotion doesn't come from the east or the west, meaning it doesn't come from any human direction or source. It comes from God and God alone. And when you really get that, it completely changes your approach from striving and grabbing to just trusting and receiving. So how can you tell if an opportunity isn't from God? Well, here are some major red flags. If getting a position requires you to lie, if you have to constantly push and shove against doors that are clearly closed, if you have to scheme behind the scenes or just force your way in, that is a massive sign that this is not the path God has for you. You know, there's a certain patience to how God works. Just like David had to wait years and years for the throne, that waiting period, that process, is often where the most important stuff happens in us. Rushing ahead of that timing, it almost never ends well. Okay, so let's bring this all home. What's the one big thing we need to walk away with after digging into this powerful story again? And this right here is the whole point. The position was never the real prize. The prize was the person Judah became. It was his transformation into a man of sacrificial character that made him fit for leadership in the first place. The promotion, that was just a byproduct of his integrity. So here's the bottom line. Stop chasing platforms. Stop chasing titles and positions. Instead, turn your focus inward. Focus on becoming a person of integrity, a person of sacrifice, a person of stability. Let God do the work of building your character, and just trust that He will handle your elevation when the time is right. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. In your own life, in your career, in your ministry, in your ambitions, are you chasing a position? Or are you focused on becoming the person who's actually worthy of one?